Alright, so I was obviously one of the biggest critics of that new version of Saints Row. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the vibe, none of that. And even though a lot of people are saying, hey, the game looks fun and the gameplay looks dope and they got a lot of things going on, it's the vibe that matters, and the vibe is all the way off. Like, nobody's gonna be feeling that vibe. So I decided to show what it would be like if I was in charge of the Saints Row Reboot, how I would do it and how they should have done it. Because my version, I think, is a little bit more in line with what everybody was really expecting and wanting. And, I decided that that's what I was going to do. So let me know what y'all think about this, and if y'all think this would have been a better version than what they came up with. Because they came up with, I don't even know how to feel about what they came up with. So here we go. Okay, let's start with this story. Okay, I don't like that whole bootleg Los Santos that they came up with, that they call Santo or Leso or whatever they call it. It's bootleg Los Santos. We all know that. I mean, if the biggest game in the world in your genres takes place in a near desert city, so what are you gonna do? Try to be in a near desert city. We all saw that for what it was, and it's kind of corny. And that whole keep Santos strange nonsense, nah, it's just not with it. So what I would do is I would bring the game to a northeast location. Yes, I'm from the northeast, so I know the northeast area, but also because the idea of having it in a wintry, woodsy nature type of environment, as well as near a city, is different than what we've already had. So I look at where I'm from, New York. I would have made this a Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island thing, because if you've ever been to Long Island, it's really rural. But Long Island, the end of Long Island is Brooklyn and Queens, which are basically New York City. And Queens is more suburban and Brooklyn is more urban. So it's a lot of mixture in just that type of environment. So in this version of the story, I wouldn't make it so that you're starting the Saints. I would say that those Saints that we already know, Johnny Gat, Dex, all of them, all of that already happened. We'll just forget 3 and 4 and pretend like they didn't, and that they're happening somewhere else in Steelport. And in this made up city that I said I should call it like something dope too. So I said we're gonna call this made up city John France. Which then, because it's kind of stuck up, and this is the Northeast, and people in the Northeast have the reputation for being stuck up, and frauds, because that's French. I mean, that's fraud in Latin. Pause. That's fraud in Latin. So yeah, the gang already exists, and you're coming to the town for the first time because your cousin, who you were close to, who was the former leader of the Saints, has been killed under mysterious circumstances, and basically you're coming there to take care of it and see what happened and blah blah blah. And everybody that's in the Saints is kind of looking forward to you because they heard that you was cool with Johnny Gat and all of them. Basically, you're from Stillwater, and that's where the Saints were official. So you come to this town, and they're already talking about you before your character arrives. And under the context of them talking about what they heard about you, that's when you create your character so that you can make them unique to how you want them to look, and yet it'll look normal to the characters and it makes sense in the story. So I say you get off like the public train that they were waiting for you, and when you arrive, suddenly a whole bunch of people are trying to kill you like they knew you was coming. And the whole point is going to be, how did they know you were coming? And then the fact that you're going to just get there and you're going to get the gang out of this massive shootout and help them avoid the police automatically gets you some early respect from the gang. You know what I mean? So now you meet the Saints as they are, and you see where they are and how they're rolling, and you're like, yo, this ain't gonna do. We got to do better than this. This is not what my late cousin wanted for the Saints. This is not what the Saints is about. So we gonna get the Saints off and rolling, and that's where the story goes. So in my story there are other gangs. There's Ultor, and this all takes place during a political election season. That's why it's like snow on the ground, November, October, that type of things. And Ultor and local politicians, they're using the gang war to their benefit. They're controlling the police and using the police to their benefit. Real life stuff, dealing with gentrification, which Ultor was all about in the first 2 games. So that type of thing. So that's where I would take the story. I wouldn't have everybody just be nerds and driving around in cars dealing with actual gangs. I'd have this be a defeated, broken gang trying to get their eye together. You know what I mean? Something that actually makes sense. Alright, so let's get into my new Saints characters. The Saints characters that they showed us in this new Saints Row is nobody's feeling them, dog. Nobody. They don't even belong in a Saints Row game. Like, you got everybody from a cornball to Urkel to I don't even know what they got, but these are the type of people that get their pockets ran when dealing with real gangs, and yet we're supposed to believe that they just decided one day to be hard. Even when they show like the pictures of them holding guns, it's like funny to me because it just doesn't look right at all. So I came up with some new Saints and some new gang members and all of that, and some rival gangs for them to have. And I decided that the best way to show how factiony these gangs are, I gave all of them like their own saying. I got that from Game of Thrones, how every house has their own saying. So here go my new Saints. And their motto is, my gun is my halo. You feel me? So my first Saint that's going to be like your number 2 man, his name is Axel. He's like a gangster. He's kind of like Pierce, but like the way he talks is much more like how Busta Rhymes talked in Higher Learning, which was mad funny if you never saw Higher Learning.
Yo, what the fuck you talking about, white boy? What the fuck you calling gang members? You know we go to school here too.
So Pierce is kind of like your number 2 man. You get into a whole lot of trouble with Pierce. He's always, so I want you to get into a whole lot of trouble with this dude. His name is Axel. He's gangster like that. All right. My next dude, his name is Tino. All right. And I came up with the name Tino because I wanted him to be ambiguous what his race is. So he have a lot of Asian in him and a lot of Hispanic. Can't just forget that Johnny Gat was Hispanic. All of this inclusion was never necessary in Saints Row because it was always there. Johnny Gat was an Asian dude. Nobody cared because Johnny Gat was official. You feel me?
Mr. Gat, you've been convicted of over 300 murders. Do you really expect this appeal to work?
I figure with the statute of limitations, it really should be closer to 250.
There's no statute of limitations for murder.
Why the fuck not?
So yeah, Tino was like a smooth talking type of dude, but he's a pimp. You know what I mean? But he's a weird kind of pimp that's not necessarily mean to, his You know what I mean? He treat them kind of good, except for like once in a while he had one of those Wayne Brady moments. Once in a while.
Right. Exactly.
But he also, unlike the rest of the Saints, he have a family with like a girl and kids that's totally separate from his criminal activity. That's a weakness later that can come up in the story. And it's something that hasn't really been done in a Saints Row game like that. My next Saint is the first female member of the Saints that I invented. Her name is Katima. And she used to be, one of them women that used to sell her, and now, she running her own business. It's a little bit of an inside joke between her and Tino that she can do it better than he can do it. You know what I mean? So, she's the one that through her business, she has a blackmail business where she blackmails a lot of people because she learns their business through pillow talk.
I'm an honest hoe, and all my hoes is honest.
A lot of the ways that, Shondi knew a lot of connections, she knows a lot of connections through the same type of stuff. But it's implied that Shondi was more in relationships. I'm putting it that she's just a chick that, do her thing and gets a lot of info from pillow talk. Alright, my next character, his name is Stoney. And Stoney is the mellow type, cold-blooded killer who's like mad smart. I based him from Omar from The Wire, and he's just like Omar. I want Stoney is gay, but thugged out, just like Omar. I figured that's a dope way to pay respect to the late Michael K. Williams, R.I.P. But I want to make Stoney's real name William K. Michaels. You know, and I mean, just like Omar, he won't curse, he won't kill innocent people, and he won't endorse other people doing dishonorable things outside of gang life. And at the same time, he'd be terrifying to the other gang.
Like Avon's people. Watch, y'all gonna see. Alright, now y'all gonna be here, right? Mm-hmm. Hold up. Hey, yo, boo! I'ma slide up through here, and barely, you gonna cover the alley.
Like, they know his reputation is that he's official, and he's mad smart. The next character I have, the fifth saint and the last one of the main saints, her name is Misty, and she's the ex of your dead legendary cousin who died at the beginning, or you know, the prologue to this story. And she's kind of reckless, like she just likes to shoot, and she don't care, and she don't put a lot of thought into what she's doing, and she sees value in violence. And she kind of resents the main character because she sees herself that she should have been the one taking over the Saints, and she sees your notoriety rising. You know what I mean? So there's kind of that conflict. You know what I mean? I think that's important to have those kind of conflicts, because if you ever been with anybody that's gang affiliated, just because they're a gang does not mean they all get along. That's important. You know what I mean? So let's get on to like the villains, the enemies. That's where I want to go next. Alright, so for the rival gangs, I came up with some real dope ideas and some simple ideas, but they make sense. You know what I mean? So the first rival gang is called the Breakers, and their slogan is they leave broken, meaning that, you know, anybody that steps in them get washed up, beat up, whatever. And the Breakers will operate similarly to the Saints in the sense that they're just a street gang, but you know, they're about that mess. Now I designed the way that they look based on the Warriors, because I like, you know, the Warriors is the greatest gang movie ever. Even though it's not a serious gang movie, it's iconic. So I wanted them to look like kind of like the Warriors look, even though the Warriors are good in that. This gang is bad, you know what I mean? And the thing about this gang is that everybody in the gang is crooked, and they're not even really loyal to each other, because just underneath the surface, they're willing to be, you know, betray each other. So I think it's dope that you can be able to get intel from some members of them, from each other, and find out stuff just by paying them off and blah blah blah, and that their gang loyalty is real phony. That's kind of like real gangs if you know it, but that's why I wanted them to act that way. So their leader, Isaac, he's one of those dudes in the street that's all about his reputation in the street, even though he's really not the toughest dude in the world. He wants everybody to think he's the toughest dude in the world, and he's mad unethical. I kind of thought about Marlo from The Wire when I made him. If you know about Marlo, Marlo was like that.
My name was on the street. And we bounce from this shit here, I'm gonna go down in them corners, let them people know word did not get back to me. Let them know Marlo stepped to any motherfucker, Omar, Barksdale, whoever. My name is my name.
And also in my gangs, every gang should have one leader and one second in command. Like, I kind of like the way the Sons of Samadi worked in Saints Row 2, the Sons of Samdi, or whatever his name was. You know what I'm talking about, where it was like more than one person to deal with. In real life, if you get rid of one gang member, somebody else rises up right behind him to become the leader. And I wanted in every gang for there to be somebody on top and somebody waiting to take his place. And like the second in command of the Breakers, his name is Big Brick, and he's just a strong dude that's like really hard to beat and shoot. Like, he's basically like Luke Cage strong and like Luke Cage bullet resistant. Even though you shooting him, he's just a tough dude. The second gang I have is called the Broken Circle Society. And they have two mottos. One is the truth is bloody and it's a bloody omen. And the thing you got to know about them is that I kind of based them on like the anarchist groups, like the QAnon people that want to bring down the government, and you know, the people that believe that, you know, vaccines are trying to turn you into mutants and stuff. Because there's a lot of people like that in basements, you know, plotting to overthrow the government and hoarding food because the government's going to collapse. That's a cliche, but it's a lot of people like that. So I said, why not turn that into a gang and have their motto be that they're just trying to bring down everybody, and if you're not on their side, they see you as part of the government. I also wanted them to be specifically big on the drug trade and the illegal alcohol trade, because guess what? Those are the type of people that be up in the mountains with their little distilleries, handing out, making illegal drugs and making illegal alcohol. So I thought that would be a dope way, especially dealing with the Northeast in their woods, and you know, that's how they rock. Also, they use a lot of their drugs and alcohol, which makes them like pain resistant too. And it also makes them reckless with guns because they're always high all the time, so they're not the best shots. But they do know how to shoot. A few of them know how to shoot because, you know, they were trained how to shoot because they're like paramilitary. And they use a lot of bikes and pickup trucks. And when you fight them, they espouse those crazy theories, calling you, you know, one of the M and part of the man and part of the New World Order. The same crazy things that, you know, conspiracy theorists actually think they accuse you of mid-battle. Their second in command name is Trucker Travis. And I wanted him to actually be one of those dudes that's good with a gun and like real good with a sniper rifle. And one of my favorite video games is like Resident Evil Nemesis, the original one that was on the PlayStation. I think it was PlayStation or PlayStation 2. But anyway, how he felt random. So I wanted Trucker Travis to be random, and that he could be anywhere in the game until you beat him trying to snipe you. And he's pretty good with his shots, so you have to be quick to avoid getting shot. You know, I think that's a dope element to add to the game. The leader of the gang, I didn't give him a name, but I wanted him to be a setup and ambush strategist that's always trying to catch you in traps and planning traps to catch other gangs. You could even catch him catching other gangs in their traps. You know what I mean? So that was my idea for them. The last gang I came up with is called the Mariners, and their motto is everywhere we go, we own. And unlike like the name Mariners, which is like sea people, that's actually the last name of the family who runs this family, and they're more like a crime family than anything. Like, they have a lot of Middle Eastern ties, so they're all like a Middle Eastern crime boss. They drive around in limos, you know. They really sophisticated. They also, here's the dope thing about them, they pay off the police. So whenever there's an issue with you and the police and them and the police automatically jump in on their side. So dealing with them would be harder than dealing with other gangs, just because you're dealing with them and the police. The second in command of this group, of the Mariners, his name is Mad Fang, and he's like the son of the gang's leader. But he's really, really incompetent and stupid, but he's a good driver. So he's really hard to catch. And a lot of the times what you want to do is find him somewhere and then have to chase him down driving. But his driving skills make that hard, and it's really, really hard to get him. He's like dumb, but he's connected because he's the boss's son. And he's kind of like Berserko from the cartoon Cops, if you remember the cartoon Cops. And the leader of this gang is a woman, an old woman, and her name is Mistress Hasana. And she's like a cold-blooded killer, like the most cold-blooded gangster boss that's ever been in one of these games. And she likes people dead when she says it, and everybody's scared of her because she's so ruthless. And she's like the old chick from that movie If Looks Could Kill.
There can be no more mistakes. Kill him.
She know how to fight. And unlike every other boss fight, the fight with her will really be straight up a fist fight, a melee fight. And that will be hard to win because she knows how to do something. You know what I mean? And also out the whole game, everybody would always see her being wheeled around in a wheelchair, never knowing that she's perfectly capable of walking, that they put her in that wheelchair because she's royalty and that's all part of her facade. So that's what I came up with for the 3 games. Now, in all fairness to the new Saints Row that, you know, we all know is going to be terrible, they actually came up with some good ideas. Like, I like their whole idea of setting up different businesses in different locations and you actually being able to choose that. That's a cool idea. I cannot knock it. So I would keep that. That's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. So when I think about the gameplay, one of the things that I wanted to make clear is that the story has to be dynamic, not just linear, but you should have a whole bunch of other stories going on too, and they should all revolve around the different Saints. Like I said, they all have different characters and different characteristics in their own lives. So you might have to do this type of mission with that Saint, and you should have to do this type of mission with that Saint. You know what I mean? But it's dope that their stories and their personalities would play together, and you would have to go on certain types of missions with them that are relative to them, not the overall story. Sort of like how Arkham Knight had the main story, but you had to do those little separate stories for each of the villains that you had to catch. Basically like that, but you know, not as corny. So I wanted to do something like that in the gameplay. Also, I thought it was a good idea that there should be specific challenges relative to territory you control and territory you don't. Like finding a member of your gang is being held hostage in a territory that another gang controls will send you to like a rescue mission. And at the same time, finding out that a rival gang is transporting guns or drugs through your territory means that you have to, you know, infiltrate it and stop that from happening. I also thought that it would be dope if the territory system was different. Like, let's say every territory that every gang owns can be ranked 1 through 5 in how hard it is to be taken from another gang. 1 meaning easy, 5 being hard. So territories you don't own, other gangs can have at, let's say, level 1. That's the easiest thing to take, but they can be trying to run operations to make their territory stronger, and you can disrupt those operations to keep that territory from getting stronger. So if it gets to level 5, it's really, really hard to take away from them. At the same time, you want to fortify your territory to stop others from trying to take it from you. And that should be expensive enough. It should be expensive enough that you have to think about which territories you want to fortify and if you can really afford to do it. If your territory is not strong, it'll get attacked all the time. And if your territory is real strong, it can get attacked, but you don't have to rush there to save it. So that's why I thought that was a dope asset to have amongst that type of gameplay. And I also think like a lot of these games is way too gun dependent. So I want there to be incentives to do melee attacks just as much as there's gunfights. Missions where you can't use your guns, you have to actually get up close and personal. And that should mean that your gun skills and your fighting skills should level up. So one day you can punch somebody, you know, kick somebody, basic stuff. But then maybe you could level up and learn that Mike Tyson one-hitter quitter, you know, or you could learn the Floyd Mayweather dance moves, you know, that type of stuff, as well as learning how to shoot real good so that different missions can be ran different ways and you get different rewards for succeeding and different penalties for failing. So I think that would be dope to add in the gameplay. And with good writing, you could come up with some dope stuff that way. If you write a dope story where in this situation you can't use guns, or in this situation you must use guns, that would be dope. Like imagine having to sneak into an airport that's mad secure so you can't bring guns, but you still gotta eliminate a target in the airport. That means you might have to acquire the guns on the other side of security. Or maybe you might have to figure out how to do it like on Hitman or some, you know, low stuff where nobody sees what you did. That's the type of gameplay they should be adding. Alright, now the main thing that people did not like about that Saints Row trailer was the tone.
Was that a gunshot?
Yeah, they shot the dealer.
That is so unprofessional.
It was very corny. The characters were corny. Their jokes were corny. Everything about it was not Saints Row. It was corny. It was very Fortnite. So the new Saints Row, in my mind, it has to be the jokes have to be inside jokes. It gotta take itself seriously, but at the same time tell you not to take it seriously. Nobody likes a joke that tries too hard, and this new Saints Row looks like it's trying too hard, really. And also, you have to go back to being risky with your humor. If your humor is not funny and it's not risky, it's corny. It has to go back to South Park 1999.
No, come on. I got a guy in Cleveland who's going to give me $80 a pound right now. How about 100? Are you breaking my balls? I think about it.
Yes, times have changed and everybody's on some sensitive stuff, but who cares? It's a video game. You think that it's okay to go around shooting people and open up illegal enterprises and not okay to make jokes about each other? If friends are friends, they say the worst stuff to each other and laugh about it. Me and my friends used to roast each other all the time. So, like, take the characters of Tino and Hoodie. Tino, being a misogynist and, you know, a flesh peddler, would be a little adverse to his friend having an alternative lifestyle. And they would have conflicts about that. He don't have to call him the F word or anything like that, but he can make some inside jokes about it. You know, that's what's funny about it. That happened on The Wire, you know, between Brother Muzone and Omar.
Is there an alley entrance?
Boarded up on both sides, so we're gonna have to go through the front.
That's a change for you, isn't it?
And that type of humor amongst them will never diminish the fact that if they really are cool like that, that they look out for each other. Sort of like Spock and Dr. McCoy. They cracked on each other all the time, but they were like brothers. And that's what made it real. That's why that relationship made it from one movie, one TV show to the next one, because that's real. Dudes crack on each other and we say hurtful stuff.
That cream-blooded son of a bitch is his revenge for all those arguments he lost.
We used to say your mother is so blah 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 to each other and then fight with each other back to back. You gotta take all of us down. So that's how this Saints Row should be. Bring that freckle bitch.
Johnny, you said you'd take me out to dinner.
And here we are.
At Freckle Bitches?
Where else would we go?
Man, what is wrong with y'all? FBs, Jim Robs. No, that's rim jobs. Y'all should be doubling down on that type of humor. That's funny. It's not trying too hard, and it's an inside joke. They should also have moments where, in dialogue, the characters break the fourth wall or drop, you know, little gems that we as the audience would get, but that the characters around them don't even get. You might even have moments where they stare into the camera when somebody says something stupid. You know, even corny ass jokes might get studio applause laughs, and people be like, yo, where that's coming from. That's the type of humor that made the first two Saints Rows, well, not the first one, but the second one, good. Buying your clothes from Sloppy Seconds. Like, that's an inside joke. If you don't know what Sloppy Seconds is, then it doesn't mean anything to you. That's the point. So you gotta have like that tone. This whole, everybody's inclusive and we want to bring them into your house and have them as friends. That's not what we're going for with a video game.
Hey! Asshole! Get the fuck away from my friends.
I don't know no video game where I would want the person in my house, really. I mean, some of them is cool, but, do I really want to know these people? Yeah. Maybe Drake from Uncharted. That's my dude right there. But other than that, come on. I wouldn't want to know Franklin. I wouldn't want to know Trevor. I wouldn't want to know Michael. I wouldn't want to know none of those people. I don't want to know any of the Saints. I don't want to know these Saints. But these Saints that they use in this new one, they like corny Saints. And nobody wants to play with them, let alone as them. So that's why I think the tone has to be a little bit more fake serious. Something like around Big Trouble in Little China fake serious. That's what makes it different from San Andreas and all the GTA games, because they're trying to be serious. So that's my idea for this game. Please comment, tell me what y'all think. If y'all think any of my ideas was good, if y'all have better ideas, dope ideas, add them. Let me know. Tell me. Later. Like and subscribe, please.